you came up with like a list of our favorite guests
we were just
over
kind
the
of
years.
like going through. We've had hundreds upon hundreds of in-studio guests, and so we were just kind of like trying to talk about what our favorite in-studio guests were.
You got to put Larry David up at the top of that list, right?
Oh, you know what? I didn't even have Larry on it.
How would you not?
It's so many, Rich.
Again, I tried to come up with a top 5, and I have a TJ-esque like 20.
I mean, Larry David.
Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, Rudd's been here many times.
Yeah, here were some of the ones. Literally, Bush did a concert for us.
Right over there.
Not
Bobby
George. Not George.
Not George.
Not George.
The band.
The band.
I think Bobby Cannavale said it
hosted
on
that day because you were gone on a Friday. That was our first year.
Our first year, I was doing Thursday Night Football from the road.
Yes.
And we would be doing the show by remote.
On Thursdays and then
Right.
Fridays, we would have a
Fridays.
guest host.
And that created in our first fall, again, 8 years ago this fall, where I did a show from Miami. And our satellite truck got stolen
Literally
the night before. And so so I flew out on, I guess, after the Wednesday show, getting ready to go to Miami that night so I could get there in time for Thursday's football. It was Tuesday going into Wednesday, whatever it was. And I remember, getting told in my ear that our truck that we were using to get the Rich Eisen Show out of Joe Robbie Stadium, I think it was called at the time, or whatever the hell it was called, whatever the hell it was, that had gotten stolen. And they found that truck that was stolen out of the parking lot of the hotel that it was being, parked in. That the driver, I guess, just parked it in the hotel, and it got stolen. And then they found it on like a train trestle track,
That was
on blocks. Like they found it totally rummaged, and so I mentioned on the air here that our satellite truck had gotten stolen, and people took that to mean it was the NFL networks. And it was a huge to-do because people thought Thursday Night Football wasn't going to be broadcast because I had just announced that the satellite truck had gotten stolen.
Right.
That made newspapers. Remember?
made
You
the
were
local
there because
news.
you were doing this show by remote. I was on like the local news.
Yeah.
People interviewing me. I'm like, no. It was for the Rich Eisen Show. But please spell my name right.
Yep.
Spell the show's name right.
Absolutely.
We just launched. We're just on
What
the
a
air.
Viral moment.
I found one of the articles right here. It's hysterical.
So I couldn't get back for Friday shows. So that was the first times that Susie sat in.
Yeah, Susie.
And
In the beginning, it was like the Sklar brothers and
Joel McHale did
and
one.
Bobby Cannavale.
Right, so we try to get as many celebrities here because I wanted this seat to be viewed as aspirational by anybody who sits in it. So I wanted them, I didn't want to just have anybody sit in.
Right.
Well, that created some problems just for us to book it. But Cannavale even said, that he was exhausted after the 3 hours of doing it. And I'm like, bro, you do Broadway like double headers. Like you do
The Sunday
matinee.
double.
You do matinees and evening shows. And you're not exhausted. He goes, yeah, because I know my lines there. Here, I don't know my lines. I'm like, okay. All right. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but we used to have so many. So Bush
So many.
did it.
So,
I remember.
it's just like a list of like Ray Liotta and Craig Kilborn. Finally getting him on the show. Stone Cold, Will Ferrell, Snoop Dogg came in and was drawing plays up on a grease board that we still have
them
over
here.
there.
Yeah.
And then he was helping us one day. The employees here at AT&T would run 40s, and Snoop
that
was
was
out there
right.
timing them with us. Ed O'Neill, Mark Paul Gosselaar, Mike Tyson, Boban coming in. Bryan Cranston, Elizabeth Shue, whose birthday is today.
Oh, is that right? Another reason why this is such a very special day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bryan Cranston coming in here, right, where he told so many stories that have still gone viral on our YouTube page. We still see, when he came in here, he told a story. I asked him about that scene. Where
Tim Watley in the
No, about Breaking Bad.
Oh, Breaking Bad.
I asked him about the scene where Jesse's girlfriend, I think played by Kristen Ritter, where she passes away, and it's a very difficult way to, and he watches her do it. Doesn't save her because she knows compromising information about him, one of the many times that Walter White broke really bad. And we watched him go down the rabbit hole of Breaking Bad. And it's one of those times where so many times you would talk about an anti-hero, root for him. and root for him to survive, and then other times just think what a total awful human being he is. And that's the beauty of watching that show, is it created within you, as watching it, you question your own values, right? And so I asked him about that scene. He told a story about how he would do that and imagine his own daughter being in that bed. That is still one of our most viral videos. Every now and then I'll see it pop up on our YouTube analytics, is suddenly people are continuing to watch that. The toughest scene he said he ever had to do in Breaking Bad, and he sat that in this chair and told that story. I love that guy, man.
Yeah, Matt Damon, Jerry West, Kareem, Matthew McConaughey's been here a few
Jerry
times.
West has been here because Susie books him. I don't think I've ever interviewed Jerry West here.
That's true. He's been here with Susie
when
Marshall.
Matt Damon, remember I busted him for when he's talked about, when I asked him about, he was here for the Bourne movies. One of the latest Bourne, or the last Bourne movie. He was here for that. And I asked him about, his workout regimen and stuff like that. And I'm like, you ever slip up? And he started talking about how he once had a chicken palm.
And he
I
really
busted
went.
him out. He did. I said, did you say chicken palm? And he's like, no, I didn't say chicken palm, Rich. And I'm like,
Chicken
and
palm.
you look
It
back,
sounded like
you
you
roll
said
back
chicken
the
palm.
video, and he 1,000% turned into Goodwill Hunting out of nowhere. I remember that interview. Yeah.
And Ed Norton, and we just had Henry Winkler over the summer.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna hook him up with Patrick Mahomes on the 20th of November. I think it's gonna happen.
I can't believe
I mean,
that.
that is going to be.
And Ed Norton's story about a bad beat with Damon in the World Series of Poker,
After
promoting Rounders, is a great story too on our YouTube page.
Kit Harington from Game of Thrones coming in here was awesome.
Lena Headey as well.
We've had a lot of Game of Thrones people.
yeah.
Kevin Costner, all the times.
Oh,
Al's
my
come in.
gosh.
Al Michaels, Jeff Bridges. I mean, and again, there's probably a dozen more I'm not remembering.
Jeff Bridges telling the stories about being Lebowski is just I'm so proud of that sitting on our YouTube stream too,
He's the
man.
dude, man. John Hamm, obviously. has
man.
been in
There it is. That's the drop.
I mean,
Jodie Foster.
James Remar.
Jodie Foster we had Jodie Foster here about a week after Jeff Van Gundy told a story about her
On the finals
during the
broadcast or
NBA
something?
Finals broadcast
Yeah.
about being at Yale and wanting to, there was a competition about trying who's going to be the first fellow classmate to go out with Jodie Foster.
Right.
He told that story on the broadcast, and then we played that for her.
Yeah.
And we showed a picture of him to her, and she goes, "Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell."
Yeah, no idea. Yeah, no.
And then so Van Gundy came back on a few weeks later and said that Steve Kerr had seen it and made merciless fun of him about that.
Pretty good. Oh, Morgan Freeman we forgot about.
Well, Morgan Freeman was here with us, and then he was also here when Deion sat in.
Right.
Yes.
How great is that? Deion Sanders interviewing Morgan Freeman.
wild.
That's on our YouTube stream.
Pretty well. I told him to
Stone Street.
pick a
How many
favorite
times? By
movie.
the way, he's calling in Monday. He wants to come in.
Rudd?
He wants to call in next week before Chiefs
Wow,
Raiders.
amazing. That's
Rudd
gonna be
coming
awesome.
in with the outfits.
Rudd came. Well, I mean, Will Ferrell.
Dressed
Ferrell
as
coming in.
Jesus.
He came in on a Halloween, the night of a Dodger World Series game,
Right.
dressed head to toe as Jesus.
He's never worn a normal outfit, I think, on the show.
And then he came in with John C. Reilly together, and he was dressed as the assistant referee for an AYSO because I had just seen him referee one of my kids' games.
Yeah.
And he came in with that. But I'll never forget, again, this stuff just is in my head. When Will Ferrell came in dressed head to toe as Jesus, and he brought in the costume. He brought in the costume.
The bag,
The
right?
bag, the plastic bag, and he held it up and he said, "There it is, one size fits most," is what it said at the bottom. See there in the bottom left. Yeah.
He's so
With a
amazing.
Dodger cap on, and he said it was really hot underneath that cap. That's how he did the entire interview.
5 years ago.
I
Wow.
mean,
One size fits most.
Jeez, so good.
And he had the sandals W and F on, his own like monogram sandals. And I kept thinking, was he wearing those when he's screaming for the meatloaf?